What is going on, everybody? Hopefully it doesn't cut me off at the beginning. It seems like this program likes to cut off the first 5 seconds or so. Welcome to the soft opening first episode of Evil Live. So I put a couple of social media posts out there a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now, kind of talking about this. This is an idea for a show that I've had for quite a while. I actually started this channel doing something very similar to this, but obviously it wasn't live streaming because I didn't have the knowledge or the talent or the technology to do that just yet. But Evil Live was a title that I had that I was playing around with whenever we were trying to figure out what to do for Autop Stream. I really liked the title, so I held on to it, held on to the logo that I made, and this is going to be my solo show. So I'm going to try to do this weekly. It might be bi-weekly. It just depends on if there's things to talk about, but going to be talking about news in the world of movies or music or video games, reviewing some films that maybe I don't have the time or the interest, to be honest, to do a full-on produced review. Like today, I'm going to be talking about Scoob, which I would probably never do a full produced review on my channel for. So we've got Jamie Lee Curtis tweeting some things that got a fire under my ass this weekend that I wanted to talk about a little bit. We've got David Arquette officially joining Scream 5. What does that mean for the rest of the casting? Are we going to see all original cast members coming back, or is Dewey going to be going at this one alone? We'll talk about that one. We have the Forever Purge, the title for Purge 5 that has been officially yanked from the entire release schedule of the studio. So not rescheduled, not slipped into a date later on next year, yanked completely. Does that mean that it's going to come to VOD possibly? We'll see. Also just canceled the TV show and a couple other things that we're going to talk about. I got a independent horror film that I want to highlight, and then we'll just shoot the shit at the end of it, provided this doesn't take 2.5 hours getting through the Jamie Lee Curtis stuff. So let me say, first of all, we had a couple of issues that was brought to my attention after the last Q&A, where I've had some viewers that have gotten frustrated with some of the way that the moderation works in the chats. Guys, these are people that I have trusted, and I have given moderation badges, if you will, to the wrench so that they can moderate the chat. It's not to punish people. It's not to show favoritism. It's not to, have people going through the chat and making it their own. It's literally just to keep the chat in line as far as people not spamming the same question or posting nasty things or asking questions that aren't appropriate for the channel, things like that. So please respect anybody that I have given that wrench to, any of the decisions they make. If there's something that you seriously have an issue with, please message me after the show privately. We can talk about it. But other than that, please respect them. And beyond that, let's just try to have a good show. And Halloween fans, try to keep it tempered just a little bit. I know there was a couple people before I even got the live show. They're like, what about this? I'm like, I haven't even spoken yet. So kicking it off with the first topic. Yeah. So Jamie Lee Curtis, we had this whole Halloween at home thing going on this weekend where Jamie Lee Curtis and Jason Blum and some of the actors from Halloween 2018 and Nick Castle and all of them were kind of hosting like a Twitter live stream somewhat where everybody watched Halloween 2018 at home and everybody was live tweeting back and forth with the hashtag Halloween at home. And, it was a big kind of cool event for Halloween fans where a lot of people were really excited for it. I didn't really have any interest in it because I'm not a big fan of the movie, as you guys know, but it was a cool little event. And my Twitter feed was just going off for hours with Halloween at home, Halloween at home. And one of the few times that I actually checked in on Twitter, one of the first things that I saw was a retweet by Jamie Lee Curtis. Sorry. I got a fucking frog in the back of my throat. Jennifer Love Hewitt. Wrong franchise, sweetheart. No. Jamie Lee Curtis had, let me see. I have a picture of it to where hopefully you guys can see it. But essentially, somebody had tweeted her with the hashtag Halloween at home and said, I remember watching the first Halloween movie at the drive-in. I was 5 and my parents told me to go to sleep, but I didn't. And then he tagged at Jamie Lee Curtis, has been one of my favorites since then. Hashtag Halloween at home. So a fan reaching out to Jamie Lee Curtis during this big event saying, hey, I have been a fan of this woman since I was 5 years old. And her only response is, no, 5 is too young. And in all caps, bad parents. And I saw this and it really kind of pissed me off. And I'll be honest with you. Like let's say this, let's get this out of the way first of all. She is 100% entitled to her opinion, just like all the rest of us. I'm entitled to mine. All of you guys watching are entitled to yours. Anything regarding parenting, religion, politics, whatever, you are 100% entitled to your opinion. But if you put your opinion out there, you are 100% entitled to getting somebody else's opinion. And it more so rubbed me wrong the way that she said it. Like, not, thank you so much for your support over the years. I think 5 is too young. Or, I would never show a 5-year-old Halloween, but thank you so much for your support. Something along those lines to at least acknowledge the fandom. But no, it was just bad parents. I've been a fan of yours since I was 5. Well, your mom and dad suck. That's basically what the response was. Now, I've had people try to talk to me. We had a little back and forth on movies that moved me, and I posted, obviously, on my retweet, which I retweeted to her. Didn't get a response. Probably, thank God, or the fucking Halloween fan community would probably lose their shit. But I had retweeted it and responded and said, I have been watching horror since I was 4. 5 may be too young for some kids, just as some grown adults still can't handle horror. Each parent knows their kids better than you, and it doesn't make them bad at their job. High five to all of the, in quotations, bad parents out there. And I stand by that. It's a stigma that I've been fighting my whole life. That's why something so simple, where I've had people in the chat where they're like, why are we even talking about this? This is non-news. You're correct. It's non-news. It's not important. This isn't blowing up the airwaves. This wasn't, shared on Bloody Disgusting or anything. This was just something that I wanted to speak on because it's something that I've been fighting with my whole life, to where, my dad let me watch horror films pretty young. I've said it before. I was like 4, maybe 5 years old whenever I first started watching horror. I watched Child's Play 3. Then I started watching the Freddy movies, and then it was just slashers galore. Now, don't get me wrong. There were certain films I wasn't allowed to watch, just like with my kids, how I'll watch some things with them and some things absolutely not. I'm not throwing on a Serbian film. I don't even watch that myself. I'm not throwing on, I Spit on Your Grave. I'm not throwing on Basic Instinct, and it's up to the parent to decide where that line is. But to me, what I don't understand is why you would respond to your fandom by shaming parents that decide that their kids can handle horror, which I'll go out on a limb and say is probably the majority of her fan base. You think about the age people have to be to grow up watching these Halloween films. Most of them probably saw the first one or the second one whenever they were kids. And most horror fans, at least ones that I have met, that grew up watching horror films most of their life from a young age, pass on that exact same thing to their kids, provided that their kids can handle it. And that's something that I feel like each parent should be able to decide on their own, not a celebrity. Again, she's entitled to her opinion. I just don't like the way that she said it. No, 5 is too young, bad parents. It's like, so I'm a bad parent. My dad's a bad parent. My mom's a bad parent. My grandfather's a bad parent. Why? I turned out just fine. And you know what? As strange as it may sound, a lot of people that I know that are some of the best people that I know, people that I cherish the most, had very similar upbringings where their parents entrusted them to be a little bit more mature than what the general standard is. And a lot of the people that I've met in my life that ended up being the typical, fuck ups that you find out about were sheltered as fuck as kids. Is there a correlation with that? I'm not sure. That's just my own little bubble. But, I'm just of the opinion to where, and I'm curious what some of you guys in the chat think about what age is appropriate to show kids horror, and what horror do you start them out with? If you were going to show your kids horror, would you start out with something like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, a little bit more mild, provided they're not petrified of clowns? Do you go right into Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween? Do you go balls to the wall and do like From Dusk Till Dawn? I wouldn't quite go that far, but to me, it's just one of those things that it's just like each kid is different, and each parent should know that. And there shouldn't be this generalization, this negative generalization out there that if you show your kids this, or if you do this, you're a bad parent, or this is going to negatively affect your child. Just within my own household. When I met Holly, Shane was 7 years old and Bella was 4. The first couple of horror films that I tried to watch with them just in the room, not like sitting down, okay, you need to watch this, but just me being in the room watching a horror film while they're around, Bella took to it very well. and was very similar to me, how I always took to horror, how I always had fun with it and I always enjoyed it, and it never really bothered me. I knew immediately that it wasn't real. It never fucked with me psychologically. It never even scared me. Shane, who was the older sibling, totally opposite reaction. Got freaked out. Certain scenes would bother him, and I just knew not to bring him around or not to watch certain things around him. And then over the years, I've found ways to kind of make it fun for him if he's going to sit down. Like I watched Fright Night with him and I kind of made it fun. A little bit of a horror comedy, laugh at some of the stuff a little bit harder than I probably would, crack a little bit of a joke every now and then just to make him smile. And then he gets through it just fine. Bella, on the other hand, never had to do anything. There was a night where Shane was gone. I think she was 5 at the time. Shane was gone and I was watching Nightmare on Elm Street, and she sat down on the couch, watched the whole movie with me, and then said, "Can we watch another Freddy movie?" Kids are just different. And I don't know. It's probably a very long-winded thing, but it's something that I wanted to address. I had a lot of people that were not necessarily bitching at Twitter. I only had like 1 or 2 people that were genuinely arguing against it, where they were like, "Look, she's just joking. You know, she's not saying that you're a bad parent." I'm like, she literally just fucking said that. Like that's exactly the quote. So I don't know. For somebody that is the scream queen, the quintessential final girl, like one of the horror royalties, and I know people have said she's not a big fan of the horror genre. She just kind of takes a paycheck, which that's a debate for another time. It just really frustrates me that you would take your status in the horror community and basically just kind of give that to a big chunk of your fan base. Now, some people are not going to take it as hard as I did. I understand that. There's a lot of people that probably are in the chat right now, a lot of people that saw my tweet, a lot of people that saw her tweet that didn't even give a shit. I'm like, whatever. I'm going to do what I want. I don't care what Jamie Lee Curtis says. And I totally agree with that. It's not going to affect me, but it really bugged me the way that she said it. So I don't know. I see what some of you guys in the chat are saying. Like, only movie that scared me as a kid was Night of the Demons, only because Angela is super ugly. I guess my true fear is ugly demon faces. I have good parents, damn it. And yes. Okay. Yes. So the good parents thing, I totally agree. And you know what? Funny, Night of the Demons. I remember Night of the Demons 2, the cover, where she's like, and she's got that skull pop lollipop. I always wanted to rent that movie just because of that. That just reminded me of that. Wouldn't go straight with an 18S rated horror movie, and would even be cautious about a 15S immediately. And I understand that. Like, I've had some people that tried to argue you could show your kids anything, like all the way up to movies like a Serbian film. Do not agree with that at all. But again, that's just my opinion. But every kid's different. You know what I mean? Like, some kids might really not respond well to psychological horror or some kind of supernatural thing like The Conjuring. But if you throw in Friday the 13th Part 4, they might have a blast with it. So there's no rules for this shit. That's just kind of my thing. There's no rules. There's no rule book that says if you do this, you're going to fuck up your kid. Or if you don't do this, you're going to fuck up your kid. All parents have to make that determination themselves. Nobody knows your kid better than you. Hopefully, if you are a good parent, in fact. So I don't know. That's probably all I want to talk about with that. But I haven't really screened the chat too much. There's a lot of stuff I'm trying to handle on here, but it looks like a lot of you guys agree. Love Jamie Lee Curtis to death. Honestly, I do. I think she's an awesome actress. I love her in the role of Laurie Strode. Whether or not I love some of the movies that she's made is another discussion. But a lot of movies that I grew up with as a kid, like House Arrest and True Lies and Freaky Friday. I mean, I love the woman. I really do. It just, when I read that, as a horror fan, especially as a fan of hers, it fucking stung a little bit. So I don't know. Maybe I'm on an island with that. I know Mother Mayhem Lindsay was on that island with me because she beat me to it with her video. Definitely check that out. Got a super chat. Scythe. I think a movie kids could start with is Coraline. Yeah, and you know what? That's a good point. There are some animated films and children's films that are kind of geared towards horror, like Goosebumps, or like, back in the day with Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like shit like Are You Afraid of the Dark? That's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. Like, Are You Afraid of the Dark? There's some things that, like, images and some of the tones that they go for in just episodes of that Nickelodeon show that would fuck with me more than any Friday the 13th film. And Friday the 13th is rated R. This is on television for children right after Rugrats. So it's all different. It all depends on the kid. It all depends on what you're showing them. So crazy stuff. Nonetheless, guys, the next topic that we need to discuss actually just dropped today, so it's damn good timing for me to try to do this show today. We have David Arquette officially signed on to Scream 5. Dewey is coming back. Let me see. I had a statement that I had saved. I didn't get a chance to put it up on the screen, but let's see. Radio Silence, who is one of the companies that is in charge of Scream, they had a statement that said it's impossible to fully express how much Wes Craven's work and the Scream movies in particular mean to us as fans and have influenced us as storytellers. Kevin Williamson's incredible stories have entertained and inspired us for decades, and we're insanely honored to have the opportunity to be a part of the cinematic world Wes and Kevin so brilliantly created together. Jamie and Guy's amazing script does that legacy justice, and we're so excited to bring the next chapter of Scream to life. Well, I hope so. It does make me a little bit nervous that Kevin Williamson's not writing the story. I'm going to admit that right away, because the only movie in the franchise that he did not write is clearly the worst one. But then David Arquette, I almost said David Duchovny. That would be a different Scream movie. David Arquette also released a statement, said, I'm thrilled to be playing Dewey again and to reunite with my Scream family, old and new. Scream has been such a big part of my life, and for both the fans and myself, I look forward to honoring Wes Craven's legacy. So, yes, David Duchovny is the first of the original cast to officially sign on the dotted line that he is coming back for Scream 5. I've said before, I'm not the biggest fan of David Arquette. I think that he's good in the role of Dewey, but it depends on the movie whether or not I like Dewey or not. Like, I like Dewey in Scream 2 and parts of Scream 3. Not really a fan of how doofy he is, no pun intended for Scary Movie, in the first film, although I understand that's the point of the character. And then in Scream 4, I was just kind of over his character as well as Courtney Cox's. But it is cool to see that the movie is at least legit enough to get some of the original cast back. And I think you're going to see announcements very soon from Courtney Cox and Neve Campbell. I mean, they're not doing shit right now. I think they would be stupid to turn away a paycheck. But I will say, and I don't know if I'm alone in this one, I've said this before on Autop Stream. I think we answered a question regarding this, to where I really hope that most, if not all, of our original cast in Scream bites it in this new movie. And now I may get shot for saying that. I've had a couple people that are like, no, don't John Connor them. But listen, here's my thing with it. These characters are some of the only slasher characters in slasher history to make it through multiple films, let alone 4. And I'm sorry, I love 4. It's my second favorite of the franchise, but the last 10 minutes of that movie is what holds it back from possibly being number 1, because not only the way that the plot kind of goes with Emma Roberts' like scheme when she gets to the hospital, but all 3 of those characters making it out clean at the end of that movie really holds that movie back for me. It just doesn't, it's ridiculous at that point. I honestly think, and you have to toe the line very carefully, because as Terminator Dark Fate and a couple other films have shown you, fans are some finicky bitches. You have to toe the line, but I think that the perfect way to open up a new Scream film, to raise the stakes and to get all of your audience on board and saying, this movie is not fucking around, is to kill one or a couple of your original cast in the opening of the film. I mean, the openings to Scream films are some of the biggest pieces of those movies. You think about the opening of the first Scream. That's like one of the greatest sequences in horror history, not just in the Scream franchise. And I'm not a giant Scream fan, and I'm saying that. If you have an opening that's similar in the level of tension of that original Scream, but Dewey and or Gale are the ones that are being hunted by this new ghost face and they get fucking gutted, and then boom, Scream 5 comes up, and now Neve Campbell has to team up with these other characters to do whatever, to avenge their death or figure out who the killer is, do her Scream thing. I think that would be badass. So, I mean, I don't know. Do any of you guys in the chat agree with that? Or do you think that these characters are just legacy characters and they should never be touched, and any Scream movie has to have them in it, otherwise you're not interested? What are your thoughts in the chat? You could talk about that for a minute. I do have a couple of super chats that I need to get to. I know I saw 2. Andrew L. Jaws is rated PG and that movie is terrifying. Perfect example. Jaws. Poltergeist is another one. Poltergeist is actually one that scared the living shit out of Shane, and that was the movie that made me go, okay, he can't watch horror for a couple of years. Poltergeist. So yes, that's my point exactly. PG, meaning kids can watch it, but that will still scare the fuck out of them. But you'll throw Friday the 13th Part 5 on, and, well, maybe not 5. That's a little bit porno-ish. We'll go with 4. Throw 4 on, and they might be fine. Again, it's all different. And yet, Lindsay just dropped Poltergeist as well, so we're on the same page. In the last super chat, Meat Sweats. Interesting name there. Hashtag kill Dewey and Gale. Yes. Let's get that trending. All right, so let's see what you guys said in the chat. Let's see. Never liked Emma Roberts as an actress. There must be a little bit of a delay then. We're still talking about Emma Roberts. Becky Sue Wade, Dewey and Gale has got to go, and I'd love for the kills to be ramped up a little. Yes, Becky. Even more so than killing the characters that I think have kind of went past their shelf life. Scream 5 needs to up the ante with the kills, like a lot. That's the one consistent criticism that I had in all 4 of my reviews, is that Scream is very tame with the kills and very unimaginative. Like, there's a couple of good ones, don't get me wrong. I mean, it gets the job done for a slasher, but there's just a lot of stabs. A lot of stabs to the stomach, a lot of stabs to the back, not a whole lot of creativity. If you have Ghostface that starts really just annihilating people like Jason Voorhees style, instantly I'm going to be like, oh shit, this movie is not fucking around. And if I was the person that was in charge of writing, that would be one of my first goals, is not only nailing the tone of Scream, saying, okay, we got to get that Kevin Williamson, Wes Craven vibe, because we need to respect the franchise and not take it totally in a new direction, and figure out what in horror we're going to poke fun at. Right after that, it's okay, now we need to make some crazy ass kills. So thank you. Yes, totally agreed. Matthew Moody, yes, agreed. See if anybody's like, hell no, we ain't killing them. Would you kill Sydney off? Yes, by the end of the film, I would. Like a self-sacrifice thing in the climax of the film, kind of like Heather Langenkamp and Dream Warriors. I would do something like that. I don't think that we need Sydney. If long as you cast and write a great cast of new characters, we don't need Sydney around. And I think Sydney's one of the best final girls ever. I don't know if you guys just saw my top 10 final girls video from a couple weeks ago, but she's pretty damn high on that list. I don't think we need her. I mean, I'm not saying that you have to kill her. If you can write a good way to keep her around for another movie, sure, I guess. But I think that it would really make this movie stand off from the others and start a new generation of Scream films if you kill the older characters and give us a great new cast to the level that we got in the first Scream that can carry through with Scream 6, 7, 8, however many they want to make. So yes, I would kill Sydney off. And I'd love to see Kirby again. Yes, absolutely. That's one. That is one death that I wish they could write around that. You know, I mean, we'll see. Maybe she got stabbed, but she only got stabbed once. Maybe they find her later on and she's okay. I would be totally for bringing Kirby back. Absolutely. Yep. So as far as Scream 5, that's all the news that we have on that one right now. But like I said, I'm pretty sure I would actually bet money that within the next month, you're going to see Courtney Cox and Neve Campbell signed on to come back to that. So the next topic we have to talk about is another movie delay. Yet another movie delay. So the Forever Purge is the title for the Purge 5. And it was supposed to come out, I believe, in July. And they just now have delayed it indefinitely. They have yanked it from their release slate completely. It is not being pushed to 2021 or October. It's just been yanked completely right on the cusp of the news that the Purge television series that I haven't even given a chance to yet, to be honest, that show has been canceled. So do the two correlate? I'm not sure. You know, we've seen a couple of movies get pushed to VOD. Blumhouse is, or at least was, in charge of the Purge, and Blumhouse is underneath Universal. Universal's been kind of the pioneer as far as pushing this straight to VOD thing with Invisible Man and The Hunt, and eventually Trolls World Tour that just went direct to VOD, skipped theaters altogether. Are we going to get the newest Purge film straight to VOD? I would be very curious how it would do, to be honest. I'm very curious on what a very low budget film, which Blumhouse is kind of the king of, would do being pushed direct to VOD. Because so far, the only movies that we've seen with examples of that is Trolls World Tour and this past weekend with Scoob. And those are kid movies. And kids are much easier to entertain at home by just, you know, getting a movie and getting them entertained. Adults, I'm curious what the difference would be if you would get more people buying this movie direct to VOD for $24 for 2 days, or if you don't have kids saying, I want to watch Scoob, I want to watch Scoob, if less people would pay for that rental. So I'm not sure. I think it would be a good movie as like a little litmus test, to be honest with you. Now, beyond that, I honestly don't give a fuck about about this movie because I'm not really a fan of the Purge series, if I can be honest. This is a series that I've seen all of them thus far. I've watched all but one in the theaters. The election year was the only one that I missed the theatrical run for, but it's a franchise to me that feels like it's already been bled dry. And I didn't see the TV series, but I'm sure that was exactly the same way. You know, you see the first movie, The Purge, with Ethan Hawke, and I enjoy that one okay. Mostly because I love Ethan Hawke, to be honest with you. If it was anybody else in that role, the movie would probably dip a complete letter grade, but a decent enough little home invasion movie with a cool concept. But when you walk out of the original Purge, the first thought is, man, the whole Purge idea would be much cooler if we could just go out into the Purge. And they listened. They brought us the Purge Anarchy, which is the one film in this franchise that I think absolutely kicked ass. Honestly, I thought it was great. It's like a Punisher movie in the Purge universe. That is the one movie in the 4 now films, soon to be 5, that I would willingly watch, you know, once every couple of years. I would pop that one in and be just fine. The Purge election year had a lot of the same pros as the Purge Anarchy, but wasn't quite as good and kind of felt like, you know, it's kind of like the Child's Play 3 effect. It's just as good as Child's Play 2 in some respects, but Child's Play 2 got there first, so it feels redundant by default. Kind of like that. And then the first Purge, the prequel, the 4th one, wasn't a fan of that one at all. Honestly, that one was one where I walked in and I'm like, okay, this should be interesting if you're going to take the prequel route. Didn't do anything interesting with the prequel side of things. So with telling the origins of the story, all of the like surprises or twists coming along with the origins of the Purge you saw coming, with the government kind of stepping in on the line and taking it over. The main character of that film going from like a drug kingpin, like fucking New Jack City, where he's got this whole neighborhood under his thumb and he's got drugs out there and, you know, keeping people strung out. And then suddenly he becomes fucking John McClane in the last 15 minutes. And we're supposed to like praise this guy as our hero. No, go fuck yourself. I'm sorry. That doesn't work for me. So yeah, that, especially leaving on the note of the first Purge, the Forever Purge, whatever the hell that even means, bad title, doesn't really have my interest. But I would certainly rent it at home before I would go to the theaters. So if it popped up right now where it said, you know, the Purge 5 coming to VOD this weekend, I would rent it. But if they said, hey, theaters are back open, pretend there's no coronavirus, theaters are open and Purge 5 is going to be in theaters this weekend, I might not even go. So I don't know how you guys feel about the Purge franchise. Like, what is I think I had saved the synopsis of the movie. The Purge, the Forever Purge. Let's see here. Yeah, they're debating. Let's see. Sources recently told THR that the film takes the Purge out of its usual metropolitan setting while still dealing with class and race issues in the way the previous films have. So to me, that says same old shit, new setting. I don't know if that's correct or not. But oops, Sean, you're messaging me while I'm live. Yes, I will send you the 31 on 31 logo, buddy. Yeah, I don't know. This, to me, I really hope that it would go to VOD. And now I'm more on the theater side of the whole Universal versus theaters thing. But if Universal is going to stay the course with, you know, this putting things straight out to VOD, I think that's a perfect movie to test the waters with, because it couldn't have cost more than $15 million to make that one. Like, I don't have numbers in front of me, and I'm not going to waste your guys' time looking up all the numbers for the Purge films, but those are extremely low budget horror, thriller, action films, because that's what Blumhouse does. So to me, that would be a perfect film to go on VOD. So yeah, the Forever Purge coming soon to who knows. Now, those are the main news topics that I wanted to talk about. Now, something else that I wanted to do with this Evil Live show that I want to be doing is try to incorporate some movie reviews that I either don't have the time or don't want to take the time to do a full-on produced review with. And a movie that came out this weekend that I actually got a chance to watch with my kids is Scoob. This was a animated, like CG 3D reboot, if you will, of the Scooby-Doo franchise while trying to incorporate a Hanna-Barbera shared universe. Now, I honestly don't remember the trailer or not if they actually promoted this Hanna-Barbera universe, but I grew up watching a lot of the Hanna-Barbera, you know, like Scooby-Doo, Flintstones, and even some of the characters that show up here. I think Wacky Races might have been Hanna-Barbera. I remember watching a lot of those cartoons. Scooby-Doo was definitely the one that was the most prominent to me, with Flintstones being a very close second. But, you know, shared universes are the thing nowadays. So you watch this Scoob movie. Now, granted, I'm an adult coming to you talking about this, so my kids really enjoyed this. They're the target audience. They're the ones that you pay for this movie for. If you have kids at home and you're curious if they're going to enjoy Scoob, yes, they will. But as an adult watching this, and as an adult that grew up watching Scooby-Doo movies, as an adult that saw both of the Scooby-Doo movies, the live-action ones in theaters, and still to this day will watch Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island if my daughter's in the mood to watch it, and I'll sing every fucking line of every song because I love that movie. I was not a fan of this one, honestly. I was a huge fan of maybe the first 10 minutes because the movie opens up with Shaggy and Scooby as, you know, Shaggy's a kid, Scoob is a pup, where they meet each other, and you see kind of the cliches of their friendship where they eat weird foods and everything like that just kind of kick off right away, and then how they meet Fred and Daphne and Velma, and as kids, kind of throwing back to a pup named Scooby-Doo, where they kind of are doing like these little children mysteries. And it quickly transitions to them being teenagers or college kids. It's very unclear what the age or even the time period of this movie is. And then that just kind of stops. Like you get the old school Scooby-Doo music, Scooby-Dooby-Doo. It's all of the nostalgic vibes that you want for. And then the movie immediately takes a huge left turn and just turns into this Hanna-Barbera shared universe, like superhero film with, I don't even remember the name of the character. Like it's like Blue Falcon or something like that. I'm going to get skewered if I don't say it correctly, but I didn't enjoy that part of the movie at all. I'll be dead honest with you. I actually fell asleep like the last 10, 15 minutes of the movie because like I was totally engaged. And then as soon as it became this Hanna-Barbera stuff, I was fighting to stay awake and give this movie my attention. It's almost like it just dropped off a cliff, my attention to it. So again, this is a 30-year-old male that watches a lot of horror films coming to you talking about this new animated Scooby movie. But as a fan of Scooby-Doo, like the old classic stuff, the very nostalgic thing for me, it just didn't do anything for me. It felt like they made the Iron Man 2 mistake to where, you know, you have this story that you can tell, which is about Scooby-Doo and the origin of this gang and the origin of the Mystery Inc. And you can tell a very cool, modernized Scooby-Doo mystery, and they kind of shove all that to the side, almost like they have no interest in Scooby-Doo whatsoever, but they're just kind of using it as a gateway drug because it's recognizable. And they just do this shared universe stuff because they want to be able to do all these other animated movies. And it's one of those corporate decisions where you look at it and you're like, why? Why didn't you just do a great Scooby-Doo film with hints of this Hanna-Barbera universe, or a Hanna-Barbera universe villain at the end that kind of opens the world up, and then you can go off and do, you know, was it Dastardly Dan, or I'm really fucking these names up, I know I am, the Flintstones, some of these other, you know, properties under Hanna-Barbera, and build your universe out just like any capable, like MCU, any capable studio would build out a universe. Just kind of putting the cart above the horse. They put a cart above like the next 5 horses with the way that they did this movie. So I don't know, guys. I don't know if any of you guys saw Scoob, or if, you know, if any of you have any interest in what I was talking about as far as Scooby going. But let's see. Mother Mayhem, did you fall asleep during Frozen, Cody? Elsa Blanket, keep your attention. No, we were not watching Frozen. I think we were watching Lethal Weapon 4 when I was wearing that. So Holly had sent a picture where me and Riley were laying there, and I was covered up with her Frozen blanket. We were kind of nestled next to each other. And she's like, I sent it to Lindsay. And I'm like, do you realize what you have done? So no, I did not fall asleep during Frozen. I actually enjoyed Frozen and Frozen 2. But no, Scoob, I don't know, guys. Like I said, my kids loved it. Your kids will probably love it. It hits all the notes that kids want in their animated films. As a Scooby fan, if you're a Scooby fan that was looking forward to this, didn't do anything for me. So I have one super chat I need to get to. Andrew L., thank you so much. Random question, but would you read any horror novelizations such as The Nightmares on Elm Street, Friday the 13th? Probably not, honestly. I like to read once in a while, but I like to read stories that are new for me. Like the last book that I read was, and it's been a while because I don't read very often, but the last novel that I read was The Girl on the Train before the movie came out because I was interested in it, but I actually wanted to take the opposite approach for a change where I read the book first and then see the movie. And the movie was terrible, by the way. But I like reading stories where I can get captivated and be like, oh, what's going to happen next? If I read a novelization of a movie that I love, especially, I know what's on every page. So it's just kind of like, it's like taking the long way home almost. You know what I mean? It's like I know where I'm going, but I'm just taking a lot longer to get there. So no, that doesn't really interest me too much. But thank you so much for the super chat and the question. But yeah, Scoob, can't really recommend that one. I would say to stream it. I mean, that's the only option you have right now anyway. But it would get a stream it for me if I was going to do an official review for it. So you guys, if any of you really enjoyed it and think I'm way off base, by all means, let me know in the chat and we will talk about it. Now, the last thing that I wanted to talk about before I start taking some of your guys' questions, I've been in semi-regular contact with an independent filmmaker over the past couple of months. I've drug my feet getting my talk out on this movie, unfortunately, but there's a movie called Cherokee Creek. I don't know if you guys have heard of it before. It is a independently made horror comedy that's based off of like Bigfoot, where they go off into the woods and Bigfoot is your main villain. And Todd Jenkins, he is the one who directed it. I believe he also had his hand in writing it. He's basically the one-man show as far as making this movie happen. Aside from, he's got his cast, he has people that he works with, but he's the man. He's the one who, this is his passion project. This is his movie. He contacted me a few months ago, wanted me to check his movie out. He's been a very cool guy, checking with me a couple of times during the pandemic and everything like that. So this is a movie that, if you're into independent horror, if you're somebody that likes kind of throwback 80s vibes, as far as kind of throwing back to the style of writing of 80s horror films, like some of the more like B-movie slashers and stuff like that, I think you'll have a good time with this one. It's not very expensive to rent on Amazon, or you can even buy it on Amazon if you guys want to check it out. But it's a movie that is very heavy on the comedy side. Like, it's a horror comedy that really leans into the comedy. That's the one thing that, if I'm being honest, if I was going to give a full-on review that held the movie back for me, is that I didn't really care for the comedy too much. Now, comedy is very subjective. And for me, especially, it's probably the most subjective of any of the, pieces to a film. Like, there's maybe one comedy a year that I genuinely enjoy. Other than that, I'm very hard to make laugh, it seems, with modern filmmaking. So the approach that he took with his comedy, it's very crass comedy. It's very, I'm trying to use the word, it's not sexual comedy, but it's like a sex comedy set in Bigfoot. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of jokes in there regarding, guys trying to get laid and things like that. And I think they even hire strippers at one point in the movie to bring them out into the woods. So it's a movie that's very heavy on that type of stuff, which, again, if you are somebody that likes crass comedy, that likes sex comedies, that likes, things being poked fun at in that type of genre, again, it's a movie that you would probably enjoy. That's the main thing that held it back for me. But for an independent film, there's some pretty decent gore in here. They're purposely B-movie with the look of Bigfoot. Like, it's not going for, any American Werewolf in London Oscars or anything like that. But it's a movie that knows exactly what it wants to be. And I think that it executes exactly what it wants to be. I've talked with Todd a little bit. I haven't talked with him specifically on his movie, but I've done a little bit of research as far as what he put into it. There's some featurette videos and everything out there that you can check out if you're interested. But he's a guy that definitely brought his passion to this movie. And it's something that I wanted to highlight because movies like this are very, they struggle getting eyes on them. So it's not a movie that I would give a full-on, praise for. If I was going to give a full-on produced review, it would probably get a stream it or somewhere in the middle there. But it's a movie that I could see the audience that he's going for. I'm just not 100% that audience. So like I said, if you like the throwback kind of 80s slashers going for that B-movie vibe where it's intentionally corny, and there's, sex comedy ramped up to fucking 12, it's a movie that I think that is probably worth checking out. So let me know in the comment section below after this thing goes off the air if you guys do end up checking out this movie, to kind of give me your reception of it. And Todd, if you're watching this, thank you so much for your support. And hopefully you do something else in the future, because I'm curious what else you can do in the genre. So there we go. That is all of the topics that I wanted to talk about, guys. So we are about 40 minutes into the show. So I mean, that's pretty tight. That's about what I wanted to keep it as, about an hour, hour and a half, something like that. Hey, Padres in the chat. Rich Leach, Daddy Leach. Hey, so we were talking earlier. You missed the beginning of the video. Was Jamie Lee Curtis saying that parents that let their young kids watch horror films are bad parents. So I kind of went on a little rant about that. But you're an awesome parent, so fuck her. That's the most rant worthy that I'm going to get with this whole thing. I try to be respectful, but now that my dad's in here, I gotta ramp that shit up and come to the defense. So that's all of the topics. Whoops, I got something hidden there. All right, that's all the topics that I want to discuss with this one, guys. Hopefully we'll have more to chat on the next one. As far as movie news, it's very dry out there right now with this pandemic going on. But for the next maybe an hour or so, I'll just take your guys' questions. So not to turn this into a full Q&A, maybe 30 minutes. We'll say 30 minutes, try to keep it tight. But if you guys have any questions that you want to talk about, I will dedicate all of my time now to chatting with you wonderful people. So let me know, please, also, maybe not even just down in the comment section below, but even in the comments, the chat right now, if you guys enjoy this live show, if you enjoy this format, if you want to see more things like that. I understand this is not the most original concept in the world. I said it on the last Q&A that I know people in this community have done ideas like this and have kind of put it into full production here very recently. But this is something that I actually started my channel doing. So this is not something I just wanted to jump on the bandwagon with, if it's even a bandwagon at this point. I've always wanted to have some kind of a live show where I could talk about a lot of current topics and, just kind of talk about some different things. So let me know if you guys enjoy this, if this is something that you have a lot of interest in, if this is something you want to see more of, or if you just prefer produced content, which is not going away, by the way. I'm not slowing down any of that. This is just going to be something extra. Or if you prefer just when we do off-top streams and just try to push all of it onto that. So let me know. But in the meantime, Horror Guy 20, do you watch We Watched a Movie? I'm friends with those guys. They're very cool dudes, Jay and Mike. I don't watch their channel religiously. That's not like a knock on their channel, whatever. I just don't watch a whole lot of movie content on YouTube. I've said this before. I spend so much time thinking and working on movie related content that I kind of need an escape. So when I watch YouTube, I'll watch videos to support my friends. I'll watch Mother Mayhem, Willis Creedia, Brian Lomax, Sean Chandler, and then occasionally Wham, Dave McCrae, guys that I am fans and friends with. I'll watch their content when I can to support them. But for the most part, when I'm on YouTube, I'm watching things like cooking videos or, gaming not like people playing gaming, but gaming top 10s. If I'm bored and want to have something on in the background while I'm editing, like top 10 Batman Arkham villains or something like that. A lot of cooking stuff. Most of my YouTube feed is cooking shit. I really enjoy that. That's kind of my zen. That's my relaxation thing, is just watching or listening to people talk about cooking and their recipes and stuff. I'm a big fan of cooking at home. So that's something that, I kind of learn vicariously through other people. So that's what I enjoy watching on YouTube. But yes, I do like the guys that We Watched a Movie. Let's see. Is your fan mailing posting soon? Yes, that will be out this week. I have not had a chance to edit lately. It's been, I've had a chance, but I've been very tired with, I'm starting a new position at work over the past couple of weeks, and it's kind of putting my body in weird positions and I'm not used to being in. I'm used to laying a certain way on the airplane, and then now I have to sit a completely different way to work on a different part of the airplane. So I'm coming home sore as hell. But yes, I have a fan mail unboxing and I have an off the shelves that will be coming this week, hopefully tomorrow and Wednesday, depending on how much editing I can get done today after this live stream. I would have never expected you to be a cook, and there you go. Daddy's approval. Cody's a phenomenal cook. Yes, I've always enjoyed cooking. My grandma was very big into cooking, and she kind of shared her passion with that with me a lot. So I kind of, even though when I was a kid and I sucked at it, I always tried doing weird experimentations, like when you microwave a burrito, but then cover it in Taco Bell sauce and then throw some shredded cheese and throw it in the toaster oven. You know, some of the little bullshit halfway homemade meals. But I've got to the point where I really enjoy it. Like I just recently bought a Blackstone grill, and that was like the biggest toy in the world for me, to where I was actually tired as hell. It was a Friday after I'd worked overtime, so it's at the end of a long week. And Blackstone, with this whole coronavirus thing going on, had not been given any shipping updates. It was basically, it'll be there when it gets there, be patient. And it had already been 2 weeks, and I'm very impatient when it comes to packages. Amazon Prime has made me a spoiled little bitch. So if it doesn't take 2 days, I'm like, what the fuck, my goddamn package? But Blackstone, I ordered this grill that I've been wanting for a long time. It was finally on sale, had some extra money, bought it. 2 weeks later, I'm like, when the fuck is this grill getting here? So Friday afternoon, it's like 4, maybe 5, and I'm laying on the couch and I'm halfway awake, and I keep going in and out of sleep because the kids were being loud, and I'm like, fucking hell. I'm laying there and I'm kind of falling back asleep again. All of a sudden, the doorbell rings. I'm like, God damn it, what is that? And Shane's like, I'll get it. And he goes and opens the door and he's like, it's a package. And I'm like, just bring it in. And he's like, I can't bring it in. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, it's your Blackstone grill. And I went, ah! And I like jumped off of the couch and immediately put it together, ran off to get propane, and made burgers that night. So yeah, I love to cook. I think I'm pretty good at it. I certainly have my my bad days, just like anybody else, where I try something new and it doesn't quite work out. But for the most part, I got my shit together in the kitchen. Let me see. Wade Fox, do you ever go back and watch some old videos of yours and cringe at certain things you do or say? Not so much lately. I used to a lot. Like when I look back at my first dozen or so reviews and I see how much I'm trying to be like other reviewers that I've seen, it bugs the fuck out of me. I had not found my rhythm yet. I had not gotten comfortable enough in front of the camera or the microphone to be able to just be me and let the review come out. I had to like, not really script myself, but there was things that I knew I wanted to say because it sounded like I knew what the fuck I was talking about. Most people would probably watch those reviews and just think this looks like a Cody Leach review. He doesn't look like he's doing anything different, but I was. So there's some reviews that I'll watch and I'm like, you sad son of a bitch. You don't mean that. Like I think it was my Don't Breathe review. I'm like, the cinematography is fantastic. And I'm like, I never say fantastic. Why did I say that? Even like my sausage party review, which is the first video I ever did, there's some things just editing wise that I look at and I'm like, okay, I'm going for that quick cut thing that I quickly got away from and started doing longer reviews. So there's not anything that I'm like embarrassed by where I look at it and I'm like, oh, but it's definitely, I can tell the difference in the way that I speak and my attitude and my comfortability in front of the camera. So there's some things that I'll look at and I'm like, oh man, if I could just go back and just put now me in there. Yeah. So yes, not lately, but I have before. Let me see. Jack Power, do you or have you collected any of the horror boxes? I'm assuming you mean like the subscription boxes, like Bam Box and Loot Crate. Yes, I was a subscriber. I was a promoter of Loot Crate Fright for a while. And I was a subscriber to Bam Box. I wasn't a promoter of them, but it was just something I subscribed to. And eventually I stopped both of them. Bam Box, which I've heard has been rectified recently, got to the point where their boxes just started to go down in quality a lot. Like they used to have a really nice like logoed box that would come just like Loot Crate. Excuse me. And eventually it just turned to regular cardboard. And I remember the first couple had an insert. They're like, excuse the box, we're, doing a brand new branding of our packaging. And it took over a year, it felt like. And I was just getting these shitty little cardboard boxes. But even that, it doesn't really matter because it's about what's in the inside, right? Well, even on the inside, it started to feel like things that just didn't really appeal to me so much. I have a lot of badass things in my recording room that I can't really show that I've gotten from Bam Box. Like I can look over here and I see a Fright Night cross. I can look over here and see a pill bottle from Nightmare on Elm Street. There's some props like the little button from Drag Me to Hell that I have right over there. There's a lot of really cool stuff that gets me excited, just little stupid horror props and everything like that. But eventually it just got to the point where it was a signed picture of somebody I didn't really give a shit about, a kind of cool artist picture where that was signed, and some prop that from a movie that I didn't even fucking know. So I just kind of stopped Bambox for a while, but I've heard that that's been rectified. So I'm not trying to discourage you. Bambox was great for a while. Loot Fright was very good for a while as well. But either Loot Fright or Loot Crate as a whole kind of went bankrupt for a while. So it was shortly after they asked me to be a promoter, and I started doing unboxing videos where I would give you guys a discount code and say, hey, subscribe to Loot Fright and you'll get all this cool shit. Well, shortly after that, I would have people message me. They're like, dude, I subscribed to this 3 months ago. I still haven't gotten a crate. What the fuck are you promoting? And I'm like, maybe they lost it. Like, talk to them. I'm not the person putting the stuff in the box. And after I got like 2 or 3 of those comments, come to find out they had gone bankrupt because I wasn't getting my box either. They didn't send out any communication to me or anybody else probably who was promoting them. So I got a real bad taste in my mouth for Loot Crate over that. And just recently, they had somebody send me like an invite to come back, but it was like another promoter. It was like somebody that would get some kind of an affiliate fee or affiliate bonus for getting people to come promote videos. And it just turned me off completely. So they had very cool stuff, but just as a business, the way that they ran really bugged the fuck out of me. So I stopped promoting them and stopped as a subscriber as well. Let me see. Have you watched the Scream TV series? No, I have not. I've heard mixed things. I've heard people be like, oh, you got to watch it. There's some really cool stuff. And I've heard people say, it's okay. It's not all that great. So I really don't know. But I just didn't have any interest in watching an MTV Scream series. I'm not really a fan of watching TV shows based off of R-rated films in general. Very, very few of them have worked out, like Bates Motel and Hannibal is about it. Any other time I watch it and you feel it dumbed down to PG-13, it's just like, oh, this doesn't work at all. So no, I actually have a video coming out that I have recorded but have not edited where I rank the ghost faces, just like I've done the Freddys and the Jasons and recently the Leather faces. I'm doing ranking the ghost faces, and I actually have a whole PSA at the beginning of that video where I'm like, I'm not including the TV series Ghost Faces because I never watched the shit. So no, have not seen the Scream TV series. Let me see. Oh, let's see. Did I miss a super chat? It looks like I missed a couple. We have Mats. Thank you so much. Didn't have a question for me, but thank you so much for your support. And I know there was one more because I just scrolled past it. CK78. Hope all is well, Cody. All the best. Thank you so much. Yes, all is very good right now. Yes, despite all of the things going on in the world, things are mostly normal in the Leach household. Can't go out to restaurants, had to bring that shit home. Can't go to the movie theaters. Other than that, work has not really missed a beat, aside from having to wear masks now, which aggravate the fuck out of my face. But especially at home, and like everything's good. Everything's good. No complaints. Dale Strunk, odd question, but what do you think was the best Autop stream? It's a cross between our first one and the one that we got Lindsay to finally come on with, the Autop stream Christmas. And that's not kissing her ass just because she's in the chat. That was actually just a really cool thing to do in the Christmas season, that we were able to kind of line our schedules up, talk about Christmas movies and kind of give horror a break, even though there was a couple of Christmas horror films. But it's between that, there was a lot of anticipation, a lot of build up, a lot of nerves, a lot of production going into the first episode, like this big launch, and it really went well, aside from a few hiccups with OBS, which is why I use programs like this and not OBS, because OBS is just a finicky bitch. But it's either that or the Christmas one. We all had a lot of fun with the Christmas one. That was really good to kind of cap off a very stressful year. To finally just cap it off with the Autop stream Christmas thing. So that was a lot of fun. Hopefully we can do it again this year. And the unboxing of all of the artwork that Woody had sent us, that was awesome. Oh man, somebody must have dropped a bomb. Rich Leach, why do you hate Sleepaway Camp? So let me see, what did he say? Somebody must have asked him a question and he's like, fuck that movie. Or did I say he hates Sleepaway Camp? Maybe that was, I know I referenced it in a previous video. Maybe that's all it was. My dad is not a very big fan of the 80s cheese. Like some of the stuff that he grew up with, like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, he could still watch, more so Nightmare on Elm Street. But whenever I try to get him to watch something that's like from that era that he's never seen before in 2020, it never works out very well. So the really over the top cheese of Sleepaway Camp, like with the mom and, Angela, come downstairs, like stuff like that. It was over before it started. I was hoping he would kind of, tough it out and get all the way through to the end, but no, he's very difficult to get to watch stuff like that. Hunter Smith, have you ever watched Chris Stuckman? Of course. I don't watch him on the regular. Like I already said, kind of the same answer. I don't really watch movie reviews or anything like that unless it's a friend of mine. And although Chris seems like a very cool person, I've never met him, so I don't consider him a friend yet. But there was a long period before I was on YouTube where I was a big fan of Jeremy Jahns and then eventually discovered Chris Stuckman and then pretty much just watched Chris Stuckman because he was more in line with what I liked. Very rarely do I agree with his views, especially on horror, but I like how articulate he is and how much he goes into depth with like the filmmaking process and stuff like that. So, you kind of have both sides of the coin as far as like the big dogs of movie reviews. You got Jeremy Jahns, who's like this total, very bare bones production. I'm just a dude talking about movies that you can kind of throw a beer back with. And then you have Chris Stuckman, who's like, film enthusiast, feels like he's got a degree in film study. If he doesn't, I'm not sure. But goes very in depth with things like that and is very articulate and shouldn't try to do humor as much as he does. It's the one thing I don't like about his reviews. I don't feel like his humor lands, but you kind of have both sides of the coin with them. So yes, I am a fan of Chris Stuckman. But I can't remember the last review. I think Rise of Skywalker, I might have watched his review after I was on the way home from the theater because I was like, man, what are people saying about this? Cameron, thank you so much for that. Let's see here. Oh, I see some super chats. Mr. Bates, if you don't mind me asking, what do you do for work? Without getting too specific, because I don't, even on my Facebook page, I don't have the company name or anything. I do the wiring for business aircrafts. So you have like the skeleton of the plane in the production floor. And once they have the whole skeleton of the plane put together, what I'll call it, the shell, then you have a department that runs all of the wiring from the tail of the plane all the way to the front. And then my department is responsible for locking all of that wiring to the structure and terminating all of that wiring. So that's what I do. It sounds a lot more complicated than it actually is, but that is what I do. Let me see. I know there was one more. Oh, yep, here we go. We got Meat Sweats again. Hey, Cody, I started writing a script for a horror movie called Come Sundown about friends who hang out at a family vacation home and start getting picked off. If you have any tips, I'd love to hear them. I don't have any script writing tips. I know I can write pretty good stories. I don't have any training or education in writing scripts. So aside from just if I read it and saying, hey, as a horror fan, I like this and don't like this, I don't know what advice I could give you, buddy. Sorry. Friends who hang out at a family vacation home and start getting picked off. If you have any tips, try to describe the kills very well in your writing. I would say that, and maybe try to throw some curveballs in there because the home invasion concept has definitely been done a lot. So try to stand out. I guess that's the advice that I could give. Mr. Bates, also, I've been a fan for years. I hope all is well. Thank you so much, Mr. Bates. Norman, thank you so much. Let's see here. Oh, one more. The Willmeister did watch the Nightmare on Elm Street TV series with Robin Englund. Freddy's Nightmares? No, I've never seen it. I think my dad had a VHS of it, but I never picked it up for whatever reason. I know there's one episode that tells kind of the origins of Freddy, like whenever he was brought into the courtroom. I'm curious to watch that one if I could find a copy of it. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. That's the only one that I know of. Other than that, no. Again, same thing. Like horror TV shows have just never really been my thing. They always feel neutered to me. But yeah, I don't know why I never watched that VHS tape as a kid. I feel like that's something I should have watched. AZ's cards, favorite celebrity chef and last. I don't know if I have a last. There's not like a celebrity chef that I dislike. I don't watch him enough to have one that I dislike. But I love Robert Irvine. I'm a big fan of Restaurant Impossible. Love that show. Guy Fieri, even though he gets a bad rap just because he's easy to make fun of, but I really enjoy him as well. Ree Drummond, I like her like specifically for her food. Like I've actually made variations of some of her recipes, and that woman can cook. Tyler Florence, I like more as a host than a chef. Like whenever he does the Great Food Truck Race and stuff like that, I never actually watched his actual cooking show. And that's probably about it. So Robert Irvine's probably my favorite celebrity chef. I just like his kind of take no shit approach. I love watching him tear into people, walking into a restaurant like, what the fuck is this? You got to clean this shit up. I love that show. Motorcycle US. I don't think Jamie Lee Curtis was dead serious. Do you? Look, this is the hard part with the whole thing. You can never read somebody's tone 100% with written text. So you can tweet the same thing and say it 8-9 different ways, and it will mean 8-9 different, it'll be taken 8-9 different ways because of the cadence of your voice, how you say it. So I am not going to say for absolute certain, no, she absolutely meant it. All that I will say is that her tweet was very small and very specific, and I find it very hard to believe that there is multiple ways to say what she said. No, 5 is too young, bad parents, ! There's not really a way to say that in a different way. So I feel like she was dead serious. I mean, she's said it in interviews before, which again, she's entitled to her opinion. She said it in interviews before where I think to kind of paraphrase, she had done an interview, like I think it was 4 or 5 months ago that I saw it, where she was talking about how it frustrates her when she's doing like autographs or book signings or something like that. And somebody walks up and says, oh, little Jimmy here is 5 and he's been a fan of yours ever since I let him watch Halloween. And she's like, parents that let their kids watch horror films, I feel like are like the worst people on earth. Now she's obviously being hyperbolic when she says that, but that's like an exact quote from her. So if she doesn't actually mean it, why does she keep saying it so much? That's all I'm saying. So I think that she means it. Again, she's entitled to her opinion. I don't agree with it, but I feel like she could say it much better and get her point across just fine. As soon as you start pissing people off and start, shaming a large part of your fan base, you just become irritating and your message is just lost in the translation after that. Cameron, we have, what are your hopes for the new Candyman? I hope that they nail the tone of the first movie, because I thought the second one was bad and the third one was terrible. There's a very specific mythic urban legend tone that you have to nail. This is not just a regular old slasher movie with a black dude with a hook. I hope that. I hope that they find a way to bring Virginia Madsen. Ha! I got her name that time. To bring Virginia Madsen back into it. Because, let me see, I can't remember if she's actually signed on. I feel like she's one of those castings. It doesn't say anything. So she's either not in the movie or she's going to be a surprise. But I feel like they have to acknowledge her, because if this is going to be a direct sequel from the first film, obviously she became kind of a legend herself by the end of that one, and a monster, if you will. So you have to acknowledge that in some way. And then I hope that Tony Todd is involved with it more than just a small cameo, which again, they're playing very coy with. I think that the actor that they chose for the main guy is a very good actor. I liked him a lot in Aquaman and the few things I've seen him in, but I don't want to just see him as Candyman. Like even the trailer, when you listen to it and it's clearly his voice that's saying, be my victim, it just doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound like Tony Todd. So if you have a movie where you can get us to buy into the fact that Tony Todd is passing the torch to this guy, which is what seems like the story is, it's going to go down much smoother, and we're going to be much more accepting as horror fans and Candyman fans, versus if they just say, no, this guy is your Candyman, deal with it. So any of those three, I will be very happy if they nail it. Let me see. See, I got a couple more super chats here. Aiden, appreciate the great movie reviews, Cody. But question, what rock bands do you think deserves to make a comeback? Okay, so a comeback, which means they have to be barely relevant now. Some of the 80s, quote unquote, hair bands, I'd like to see a comeback. Like I'd like to see Rat kind of come back out onto the scene a little bit. Dokken. You got a lot of my favorite bands don't really need a comeback because they haven't really gone away. There's certainly some bands that I follow that feel like they deserve more attention and more credit, but there's nobody that's like, you can go see them at a little bar for $15 anytime that they tour. So I would say Rat and or Dokken. I'd like to see a little bit of a comeback where they start actually producing some music that's like, oh wow, makes people pay attention. I'll say either of those. I know I've got at least 2 more super chats. Oh shit. Motherfucker, this damn thing just swiped. Oh, there they are. Okay, I got 3 of them. Dirt Wolf, I like the format. Have you seen Night of the Hunter? Thoughts? Some favorite underrated horror movies? Also, don't sleep on that Child's Play 1 theme. Thank you so much. I'm glad you like the format. Something else, now that you're just saying underrated horror movies, something that I do want to kind of have as like a segment on this show, which I tried to have as a segment on Autop Stream, but with all 3 or 4 of us talking about topics, it tends to not have enough room. I do want to end the show before Q&A kind of highlighting a hidden gem. Maybe pick one every week or every other week, however often I do this, and kind of highlight it, give you guys a push to go see it. Not like a full-on review, but like, hey, this is a movie that I really recommend. It might be a movie that I have reviewed, might be a movie that I'm planning to review. So that's not your question, but now that you brought it up, that made me think of that. Have you seen Night of the Hunter? No, I have not. I'm struggling to remember if I even know what that movie is. Don't sleep on that Child's Play 1 theme. I love the remakes theme. I'll be honest with you. For all the things that you could say that movie did wrong, the score was not one of them. So I've always said that the Child's Play franchise is missing like a signature score. Jason's got his little signature score. Freddy's got his. Michael's got his. Chucky's never had one. And I'd be very happy, even though it's not going to happen, if that score from the Child's Play remake kind of becomes Chucky's signature, because I thought it was pretty awesome. Mr. Bates, top 5 movies to watch in quarantine. Oh, God, dude. Off the top of my head, I'd almost have to do a video on that. I will say the type of movies that you should watch in quarantine is the type of movies that you don't typically have time to check out. If there's movies that you've been wanting to check out, but always gets pushed to the side for, whatever reality TV show that you typically watch or whatever new release comes out, I would say start with those. Start with the movies that you don't typically have or take the time to check out. So that's not a top 5, but I would need to prepare for that question. CK78 for a laugh. Did you know that police in Nova Scotia make drunk drivers listen to Nickelback as part of their punishment? Not sure if it's true. Doesn't sound like it would be true. I feel like they would get sued for that, but that is pretty funny. I actually made a joke about that today. My department manager had walked onto the plane, and I think I was listening to what was it? I think I was listening to Kill Switch Engage or something at the time. But she walked in and she turned it down. She's like, hey, I'm going to be in a meeting for a while, and our regular manager's not here today. She's like, if you guys have any emergency, dial this number. This is our in-house emergency number. Like if anybody's bleeding, if anybody has their head caved in, if anybody slips and falls. And I was like, if anybody puts Nickelback on, and we got a good little laugh out of that. So, or at least I got a good little laugh out of that. Maybe I was the only one laughing. Who knows? I entertained myself. But yeah, that is interesting. If that is true, that's a funny little punishment there. Oh, I see a super chat from Cassie and from Blake. I got to get to those. Blake, favorite horror movie involving Satan and or demonic possession. I thought when I first read this question, I thought it said favorite horror movie involving Sartain, and I was about to reevaluate our friendship, Blake. Involving Satan and or demonic possession. Shit. I'm not the biggest demonic possession fan in the world. Like, even the Conjuring movies, I like them, but I'm kind of burnt out on that whole genre right now because that's kind of the main thing of horror the past 10 years or so is just demonic possession, supernatural. Involving Satan, I'm going to throw out a curveball and say End of Days. I've always been a big fan of that one. I love me some Arnie. So that one, and then demonic possession, I mean, it's hard to beat The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2 as far as recent movies that I can think of. Ghost movies don't necessarily fall under demonic possession, but I'll say that. I'll say End of Days and either of the Conjuring films. I'm sure there's one I'm forgetting. Pancake Poppy. Thoughts on the murder of Ahmaud Arbery? That's rest in peace. That's about all I can say. That's really not a topic that I want to get into on this show. Not saying that it's not important. That's just not what I'm here to talk about. There's a lot of things involved in that. So I appreciate the super chat and the question, but respectfully, I don't even want to open up that for discussion. Cassie Hart, you need to get your YouTube channel going. That's all I'm going to say. If you have a question down below that I haven't read yet, that's my answer, is get your YouTube channel together. Hugs to you and your fam. Thank you for all that you do. That is all. Thank you, Cassie. We all love you. Let me see here. Oh, we got another one. Ostro 1980. Did you like the original Fright Night 2? Damn it. Thank you for reminding me. I bought the Blu-ray and still have yet to see it. I remember seeing pieces of it. I think I remember the opening, but I've never actually watched the whole thing. That's one of those movies that I need to get on. There's so many. I got such a backlog of movies that I really want to check out that I'm either doing something for the channel, or I'm working, or I'm tired, or it feels like I never have the energy or the time to watch movies that aren't related to a review or a ranking in some way. So yes, I need to check out Fright Night 2. From what I hear, it's pretty damn good. What? Not my John Connor. That's all I'll say. Let me see here. Remnants of the Dead. Have you seen any of the Hills Have Eyes films? I've seen the 2 remake films, the remake and the sequel. I don't know if the Hills Have Eyes 2 is a remake of the original Hills Have Eyes 2, or if it's just a sequel to the remake, but I've seen the 2 new ones. I like them. I'm not as high on it as everybody else. A lot of people throw the Hills Have Eyes out as like one of the best, if not the best, horror remake. I enjoy it. It's brutal. It's gory. It's got some good characters, some good actors that I like in there, but it's never been a big winner for me. I don't know specifically what. I would almost have to rewatch it. But the second one I remember liking not so much. That was just mildly entertaining. One thing that I do remember about the second one is that it's got Jet Jackson. I can't remember the dude's name. It's an actor who eventually died of suicide. That was a big part of my childhood for Jet Jackson, some other Disney movies like Johnny Tsunami. So that's a weird note that has kind of stained The Hills Have Eyes 2 for me, is that not too long after that actor committed suicide. So that's one thing that whenever somebody brings up The Hills Have Eyes 2, I always think of them. I'm like, oh man. Let me see here. Remnants of the Dead. Okay, so I'm all caught up. Let's see here. The Cubinator. Which movie should I watch if I want to get into the MCU? Iron Man. Like, honestly, I'm really somebody that, like, as far as franchises, unless it's something like a Nightmare franchise where I'm like, you can skip Freddy's Dead. But a movie or a franchise like that where the stories are so interwoven in a specific order, you have to start with the first one. So start with Iron Man. Iron Man's great anyway. If you enjoy Iron Man, I would just go in order, release order. Iron Man, then the Hulk, Captain America, Iron Man 2. Actually, I think those 2 are swapped, but go in order, honestly. It's kind of like a television series. If you skip an episode or 2, when get to the episode that you watch, suddenly there's shit that you don't quite understand because you missed what happened. So by all means, check out the MCU because it's awesome, but start at the beginning. Ella Moon, are you excited for Halloween Kills? Yeah, I'm going to bring my kids to it. No, I'm kind of flatlined on Halloween right now, to be honest with you. After Halloween 2018 came out, I had a lot of excitement for that movie. I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into that review series. I had a lot of fun doing it. I was losing sleep, getting like 3-4 hours of sleep a night for like a week and a half, cranking out those reviews. And the way that it ended with me just getting demolished by Halloween fans for like 3 months straight just kind of soured the franchise for me a little bit. I know I shouldn't hold the movies responsible for the fans, but it's that in conjunction with my time in Killer Flicks where every 5 fucking minutes everybody was arguing or talking about Halloween. I'm Halloweened out. The fact that I wasn't the biggest fan of Halloween 18 doesn't really help. If I really loved that movie, it would help because I'd be like, shit, I got to see what happens. But it left on a note to where I'm kind of like, okay, whatever. I'll watch the next one. I'll be there opening day, or, you know, if it's on VOD, I'll watch it absolutely the second that I can, the day that it drops. So don't get me wrong, but it's just, I'm monotone on it. We don't have a trailer yet, so I have nothing to really visually get me excited. Story-wise, I don't know what the hell they're doing, because it ends on this note where it's like, okay, he's alive still? Oops. So I don't know. I have no anticipation, expectations, any of that for Halloween Kills. And I'm hoping walking in with that will make me enjoy it more, because my expectations and anticipation was fucking sky high for 2018, and I walked out disappointed. So if I kind of keep myself down here and I walk into Halloween Kills, I might walk out saying, you know what? That was pretty damn good. Bring on Halloween Ends. All right, a couple super chats. CK78, thoughts on Conjuring 3? Are they making too many? They're making too many of the spinoffs. They're not making too many Conjuring films, because those go like 3+ years in between them. The Conjuring 3, supposedly it's going to have something to do with werewolves or something, which excites me, because the werewolf part was kind of cool in Annabelle Comes Home. And I love werewolves and vampires. I think it's time for a comeback. You know, the Twilight is far enough in the distance to where we can start taking them seriously again. But the title, what is it? The Conjuring, The Devil Knows You're Dead, or some shit. What the fuck is the title? It's a long-winded title, and I'm going to fuck it up. So let me go ahead and look it up. The Conjuring, the Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Stupid ass title. I'm sorry. What is it with this trend lately with mouthful titles? Titles are supposed to be quick to the point. You could have a subtitle in there that's cool. You know, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors is not exactly a quick little, but that's a sequel with, you know, a built-in title style. But you have The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. The Conjuring 2, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. It just doesn't roll off the tongue. That's all I know about it. Werewolves and a stupid title. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. 2 more super chats. Scythe, most underrated Breaking Bad episodes. Fly. Fly is by far the most underrated Breaking Bad episode. I don't care where you look online. I don't care how big of a fan they are. Most people think that is the worst episode of the show. I know a lot of people that said that is a flawless show, except for that one episode. And I go in depth with it. I have a lot of acid reflux today. God damn. I went pretty in depth with it on my Breaking Bad season 3 review. If you want to go check that out, I give a lot of reasons why that episode is actually brilliant. It's the first of 3 episodes directed by Rian Johnson. Hold on, Star Wars fans. The good Rian Johnson. But there's a lot of thematic elements in that episode that is really under the surface, to where if you just take that episode at face value, it's Walt and Jesse trying to swat a fly for 45 minutes. I can understand why that might be boring for some, although I find the episode highly entertaining just with that storyline alone. But there's a lot of things under the surface in that episode that is very, not only genius, but important for what happens later on as far as foreshadowing and things like that. And even just the relationship between Walt and Jesse, there's very important things dialogue-wise that happens in that episode, such as like the point where Walt is he's been drugged to the point where he's already kind of in lunacy. He's already manic because of everything going on. His life's just crumbling around him, and he's obsessed with this fly. That's one thing that he feels like he can control. But when he gets to the point where he's drugged out and he's fallen asleep and he almost confesses to what he did to Jane, stuff like that is just so vital that I don't understand how anybody could dismiss that episode completely, but it's by far the most underrated episode for me. Craig Adams, would you have seen Summer of '84 if it wasn't for your channel? Thank you. Such a great fucking movie. Also, favorite Dokken album. I don't really know Dokken for albums. I always have like a playlist where it just plays all their discography and everything like that. So whatever one Dream Warriors is on, I guess. Actually, I think whatever one Into the Fire is on is a pretty damn good album. I think that's got 2 or 3 songs that I love. My dad will probably chime in with whatever album. It's this, dumbass. Would you have never seen Summer of '84 if it wasn't for your channel? If it wasn't for being a part of the horror community because of my channel, I probably would have never heard of it. But no, I would have watched it. If I was just part of the horror community as like a viewer, and didn't have a channel, I still would have probably given it a shot. but I probably would have never heard of it without being a part of this community and, you know, being kind of in the know. Hey, there you go. See? Validated right there. Oh shit, there are no underrated episodes of Breaking Bad other than Fly. Thank you. All right. Thoughts on the Continental and Ballerina spinoff? The Continental is the John Wick one, I believe, right? What is Ballerina? I'm blanking on Ballerina, I'll be honest with you. If somebody can tell me down in the comment section, or Pancake Poppy, if you can just tell me, I'll scroll to the bottom and see. But I don't know. Again, TV series based off a rated R property. John Wick is very bloody and very violent, and that's not going to translate over to TV. Having something that's maybe not an action, you know, centric show that's just more about the underbelly of this Continental and how the whole thing came to be and how the underworkings, that kind of entices me a little bit. But like I said, I don't get excited for TV shows based off of rated R movies because there are so many of them have been bad that it doesn't even move the needle for me. So until people are like, dude, the Continental's the shit, I won't even give it a chance, probably, to be honest with you. All right, guys, I'm seeing a little bit of debate in the chat about spamming. Again, I'm leaving this to my moderators, so please try to respect them. But if you're asking the same question over and over and over and over again, trying to get my attention, that is spamming. So if they're calling it that, that is spamming, because yes, that's one of the reasons we have moderators. If you ask the same question every 30 seconds, trying to be kind of like playing the lottery, trying to put as many in there so I see it, that is spamming. I try to get to do as many questions as I can. Unfortunately, it's just the roll of the dice if I get to yours. We got 264 people watching right now, so there's going to be questions that I miss, unfortunately. It doesn't mean that your question sucks. It doesn't mean that I don't like you. It doesn't mean that, you know, I don't value you being here. It's just how it goes. The Willmeister, speaking of vampires, did you watch Bit on Amazon yet? Would love to know your thoughts. No, I don't. I'm trying to think. I don't even think I've heard of Bit. The next vampire movie I want to watch is the guy that did VFW. What the hell is that one? I think VFW. I'm trying to remember the name of that film. Joe Bagos, that is the name of the director. And Bliss. Bliss is the next vampire movie that I want to watch. I bought it on Blu-ray. I've stuck it on my shelf. Have not got a chance to watch it yet. But all of them, right? Negative Nancy. But yeah, Bliss will be the next one that I watch. Let me see. Oh, we got one more super chat, and then I'm caught up. Where did it go? I just passed it. Damn it. You see it for like a flash when you're scrolling on this program. When a Stranger Calls, 1979 or 2006 remake. I have never seen the 2006 remake. But from what I know, it's more, it takes the first 10 minutes of When a Stranger Calls, the original, and makes the whole movie about that. I haven't seen it, but on paper, that sounds like a better movie to me, because outside of that opening 10, 15 minutes of the original, that movie sucks. I'm sorry. I remember renting it as a kid because it had been built up. I think my dad had told me about it. Surprise, told me about a lot of that shit. But I had been so hyped up about how scary the opening of the movie was supposed to be. And as soon as the opening ends, that movie just goes in a total different direction. It's about the detective and the killer, and you don't really get back around to the babysitter until the last 10 minutes. It's not a good movie at all. The great opening. It still holds up. I put it on maybe a month ago just to kind of fuck with Holly a little bit. I was like, hey, let's watch the beginning of this. Let's see how you react to it. And she was getting freaked out. The sound design and that old school style of filmmaking, it still holds up. After that opening, just turn it off, go do something else. So I don't know. I haven't seen it, but that concept of taking what was great about the original and making a whole movie out of it sounds better. All right, guys. So I think that I'm caught up on super chat. So now I can answer regular old questions. Let's see here. No, don't watch it, Cody. What am I not watching? Uh-oh. No, don't watch it. Maybe the remake, that what you're saying. The remake's not very good. Let's see. Hey, Reggie, I can't read anything that you're posting. I've seen you pop in the chat. I don't know if that's a setting you have, but we can't read that. Did you watch the Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath gameplay trailer? I saw the part with RoboCop whenever they first announced it, but I'm not really a big fan of the Mortal Kombat games. I like the concept of it. I'm just not a big fighting game guy, and it seems like they're just banking on adding characters now. That's the way that they make their money. Is like, hey, we got Terminator this time. Hey, we got Predator this time. Hey, we got Jason this time. So, no, that's not really my thing. Oh, did I get a couple more super chats? I think I did. Let me see. Let's see. Is it just two of them? I think it's just two of them. Charles Wright. Hey, Cody Leach. Love your channel. You rock. I feel different on some horror movies, but love the videos. I watched Pet Sematary and Child's Play growing up. Thank you so much. And never be ashamed that you have a different opinion than me. That is not what this channel is for. I'm not here to be validated by everybody saying, hey, everything that you say I agree with 100%. That's not fun to me. I actually love debating things and chatting with people and being like, hey, this is what I get out of the movie. Now let's talk about what you get out of the movie. Oh, that's totally different. Let's discuss that. That's kind of what I enjoy about this, despite how many people on the internet cannot fathom or take the fact that there's people out there in the world that have different opinions than them and just flip out anytime that I have a different opinion or somebody else has a different opinion that has a, an avenue to bring those thoughts forth. That's actually the fun of all of this, in my opinion. So thank you, Charles. Scythe, last chat. What are your favorite albums from the 90s? From the 90s, you got Dirt and Faceless, I believe, are both in the 90s. It was either 89 or 90. When did Faceless come out? Both of them, well, fuck it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. The first two Alice in Chains albums. Anything that Metallica released in the 90s, I'm sorry, haters, but it's badass. Judas Priest, the Ripper albums. So you have Demolition and Jugulator. Demolition might have been 2000. I think Jugulator. So Jugulator would have been the one that applied to that. And that was like 98. A lot of my bands that I'm big fans of now just got started around that time. So again, I'm not going to waste your guys' time Googling everything, but I believe the first Godsmack album came out around that time. I believe the first Stained album came out around the end of the 90s. I might be missing it by a couple of years, but the answers I gave before, I know for sure in the 90s. Somewhere in there. All right, I see 4 super chats up here at the top. Top 5 AC/DC albums. Again, top 5s are so hard to do on the cuff, guys. I love the support. Thank you so much. And that's a great question. I love getting music questions, but it's so hard to come up with top 5s just on the dot. I don't even know. Like top 5, I'll do top 5 AC/DC songs. That's much better. For those about to rock, We Salute You has always been my favorite. I'm tired of hearing it sometimes, and then sometimes I don't care. So I love Highway to Hell. I'm sorry, I just do. It's overplayed, but I still love it. Shoot to Thrill. I love Rock and Roll Train, which is off of their most recent album. I really like that one. And then what am I going to round that out with number 5? Probably Thunderstruck, I guess. I'm not wholly original with it, but yeah, I'll give you top 5 AC/DC songs. Try to answer your question somewhat. The Willmeister back again. I just finally watched It 2, then watched yours and Drum Dum's reviews. You were wrong. I caught that the Thing reference to, and it only made me want to watch The Thing or play Half-Life. I don't remember what I was wrong about. If I said it, I don't know if anybody else caught that or not. Maybe that's what I was wrong about. But yeah. It's very heavy with the Thing reference in that scene. And it only made me don't want to watch The Thing too, because I got home after watching It Chapter 2 and went, okay, I'm done with It movies for now. Let's see. Yes, Hunter. It's right. And D Gulag. Yes. Yes, I did, Sky. Yes, I did. I did say Fuel was badass. Not every song off of Load and Reload is awesome. There are certainly some songs that make you scratch your head a bit, but for the most part, I think 90s Metallica is highly underrated. Pancake Poppy, are you a Spawn fan? Do you think it will suck? Side note, I've always wanted Guillermo del Toro to direct a Spawn film. No, I'm not. Like, I don't dislike Spawn, but I wouldn't call myself a fan of it. I grew up when the Spawn, the movie, came out. They had the action figures. The action figures were pretty cool. Never read the comic. Have no fucks to give about the movie that's supposed to be coming out that Todd McFarlane apparently is like totally in charge of. Comic book guy is going to run a movie production. We'll see how that goes. So no, Guillermo del Toro, he would make a good one. I think he has the visual for it. But no, not a Spawn fan. Let me see. I think I've caught up on Super Chats. Let me click these at the top here. Yep. Okay, I'm all caught up. All right, let's see where we're at now. I hate saying anger. There, I said it. I think most people agree with you. There are 4 songs off of that album that I genuinely like. And I say like because they're not my favorites. Other than those 4 or 5, garbage. And it's by far their worst album. It's not even a question. Let's see. Looking for questions. There's just a lot of chatting in the chat. Go figure. All right. Robert Bradley. Would you be up for a Resident Evil movie remake if they were to be more faithful to the source material? I'm thinking Edgar Wright would be a great choice director. I don't know if I would go with Edgar Wright. I don't think that would be the right tone. I would want it to be darker. His stuff tends to be a little bit more fun and lighthearted. But absolutely. Supposedly that's what they're doing. We'll see. But if they're going to go back and actually follow the storyline of the video games and the characters and actually respect what Resident Evil is supposed to be, then yeah, I will be 100% on board to give it a chance. Don't get me wrong. I have guilty pleasure for the Resident Evil franchise that we have. Most of them. A couple of them I just don't have any pleasure for. But if they're going to go back and actually follow like the Arquette Mansion and then go to Resident Evil 2 with the police station and everything, fuck yeah, sign me up. Let me see here. I just watched Stranger Things. What do you think about it? I love that show. I'm not the biggest fan of season 2. Season 2 is a bit of a struggle for me, but season 1 and season 3 are both fantastic. And I just said fantastic. I guess I do say that word. But those are both awesome. That's more me. Awesome seasons. So I'm looking forward to season 4 very much. Yes, that's a show that whenever that comes out, that's kind of like an event for me and Holly, to where we're like, gotta watch these now. Have you seen The Good Son? If so, can you do a review? It's a guilty pleasure of mine. I'm sure eventually I'll get to review that one. That one was an interesting one growing up because Macaulay Culkin was kind of like the face of kids' movies back in the day with like Home Alone and Richie Rich. And then he did this little horror film, this little horror thriller called Good Son. And I was like, hey, cool. So yeah, I've watched it recently and it ages pretty decent. There's certainly some things in the story that are a little bit weird and heavy-handed, like his Elijah Wood thinking that his mother's been reincarnated into his aunt and stuff like that. That's a little odd as an adult. You watch it and you're like, what the fuck, kid? But just seeing Macaulay Culkin playing a little psychotic bastard is fun. So yeah, it's a guilty pleasure for me as well. Yes, Hunter, it's a full-on country song, but it is a great song. I'm with you. Haters be damned. Will you ever review the Evil Dead franchise? Already have. All 4 movies have been reviewed. I've ranked the franchise, and it was in last year's 31 on 31. So after you get done with this, all of that is available for your viewing pleasure. Favorite video game of the last 5 years? The Last of Us was not within the last 5 years, because that's a big one. Maybe God of War. It's either God of War or the Resident Evil 2 remake, probably, because God of War like blew my mind. I've never been a big God of War fan. I enjoy them, but I'm not really like I've never been high on the franchise to the point where it was one of my favorites. Even the character of Kratos, never really been a big fan of him. Just a big meathead motherfucker that just is angry all the time. God of War, the like reboot, the PS4 game, phenomenal. Like sets God of War on a whole new level as far as storyline and character and the combat and everything is awesome. I was addicted to that game. I was going through and trying to get every last little trophy that I could. And then the Resident Evil 2 remake. I've talked Resident Evil ad nauseum the past month or so, but that's just a badass reinvention of a survival horror classic. So yeah, either of those two. Let's see. Devin Lott, Death Magnetic is Metallica back to form. Are you a Ronnie James Dio fan? I do like Ronnie James Dio. I have not dove into his catalog enough, to be honest with you, but I did grow up listening to Dio. My dad's a huge fan of Dio and Black Sabbath, and he's got Rainbow and all the other stuff that he used to do. Death Magnetic is Metallica back to form. Kind of. Death Magnetic's interesting. That's an album that I absolutely loved when it first came out. But that is the Metallica album, probably of all of them, except for maybe Kill 'Em All, that has aged like shit. The production of it, as much as I love some of the songs, you listen to it now and it just feels like it's forced to be long in some spots. Like almost like Metallica said, okay, you guys bitched about Saint Anger because it wasn't long speed metal, so I guess we got to make these songs 6 minutes long. And it just, some of the songs just don't feel like they need to be that long. To me, the return to form for Metallica is disc 1 of Hardwired to Self-Destruct, because that kind of covers all of the spectrums of Metallica. It's got like the classic metal Metallica, it's got speed metal Metallica, it's got 90s Metallica. It's kind of all kind of their genres built together. And throw Spit Out the Bone onto disc 1. To me, that's perfect Metallica back to form. The rest of that album kind of feels like B-sides to me. But I love talking about Metallica, though. I might do a Metallica ranking here soon. I've debated on doing some album rankings. Me and CP are working on doing top 10 Alice in Chains songs as like a collab. But I've been thinking that I might want to do like ranking the Metallica albums, or ranking Judas Priest albums, or just to do something different. With movies kind of being in the background right now with the COVID thing, I've kind of enjoyed talking about video games and music and stuff like that in the off season. Let me see here. Oh, I got a couple super chats. I see the meters going off here. Let me see. Oh, Eobard Thon. Hey, Cody, after 2 seasons, what do you think of Cobra Kai? What do you want to see in season 3? I love it. It's definitely a little bit hokey, a little bit melodramatic with some of the stuff going on. But if you're a Karate Kid fan, it's so damn enjoyable, honestly. Not only just with the way that it expands the storyline and the characters from those original movies, but it's a fun, innocent show. It gets not really dark, but it definitely gets a little mature in spots. So it's not like a kiddie show, but it's a very nice companion to the Karate Kid series, and I enjoy it very much. For season 3, what do I want? I want to see Daniel and Johnny team up to take down. Well, I don't know if I want to spoil it or not. If you haven't seen Karate Kid or Cobra Kai season 2, earmuffs. But I want to see Johnny and Daniel team up against Kreese by the end of that season, now that Kreese has kind of taken over the Cobra Kai. I don't know as far as individual character stuff what I want. I want that, and I want is it Danny or Danielle? Whatever Elizabeth Shue's character's name is that I'm blanking on. I want to see her back too, which they pretty much directly hinted at by the end of season 2, so that's almost a given. But either of those or both I want to see. Aiden, thank you. Now I'm not the only one from Ohio who thinks Faceless and Dirt are great rock albums from the 90s. R.I.P. Lane Staley. I don't think we're in very good company in thinking that those are great rock albums. So yeah. Let's see here. Uh-oh. Looks like somebody's trying to get some Mother Mayhem digits. Let me see here. I know. Did I miss a super? Okay, there's one more. Okay, right here. The Will Meister, are you still reviewing the Saw series, and have you seen the Cube movies? I have not seen the Cube movies, and yes, I am still reviewing the Saw series. I do not have any more recorded. I recorded the first 3 back-to-back and edited them at my leisure. I'm going to do the same thing with 4, 5, and 6. Like I think I answered the question in my Q&A, and I said by the end of the month. So depending on, I would say between 2 and 3 weeks, keep an eye out for Saw 4, and we'll get that back on track, as well as Day of the Dead. I want to get that review series back on track as well. Okay, so I have seen this question a bunch of times. I just don't know how to answer it. Chris Unwin keeps asking about who would I put in my own Suicide Squad. I don't have enough comic book knowledge to be able to know who the members of Suicide Squad are. I know there's a lot of different incarnations of it. You got one with Harley Quinn. You got one that's not. You got Deadshot as the leader in some of them. Killer Croc's in it in one. Killer Croc's not in it in one. So honestly, I don't know how to answer your question. I would just be answering what my favorite Batman villains are. I don't really know the various characters. I think if I was to do so I would have Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Killer Croc. Isn't Slade Wilson Deathstroke? Is he part of the Suicide Squad? If he is, I'll take him. I don't know how any others to say. I don't really know who. Like I said, I don't know the rotating roster of the Suicide Squad. That's the only reason I haven't answered your question, because I can't really answer it. Your dad's taste in music is amazing. I'll make it easy for you. Top 5 Metallica songs. Oh, that's not easy. What the hell are you talking about? For Whom the Bell Tolls. Struggle Within. Son of a bitch. Dream No More, which is off their newest one. Love that song right now. Master of Puppets. So that's 4. And Welcome Home Sanitarium, possibly. If not Welcome Home Sanitarium, then Fade to Black. One of those two. So I don't know. I could go on and on with that. That was not easy. See you, Cassie. I'm probably really late with that, but I just saw everybody saying, bye, Cassie. Let me see here. Did I get all the super chats? I got one more from Will Meister. I love Lane Staley, and William Duvall is killing it, but do you like Jerry Cantrell is just as good when he sings lead, like in Your Decision? Yeah, Jerry Cantrell is good. I mean, for the longest time, he was kind of the band. He was touring with just him, kind of carrying on whatever he could with Alice in Chains. So yeah, he's just as important to the sound of classic Alice in Chains as Lane Staley is. Like, there's a lot of background vocals and a lot of harmonizations that he does, and that was kind of something that they made big. I hear my kids are home, so I'm probably gonna have to get the fuck out of here after 2 more questions. So I'm gonna answer 2 more questions. I can already hear the door's about to open. I know it is. Let me see here. All right. Shot Down Juggalo, favorite Treehouse of Horror episode. The one with The Shining. The Shining. That one's my favorite by far. That one's the best one. The second, obviously, hi, baby. Shut the door, please. Go out there. No. All right. So, I'm going to sit.
Sorry.
That's fine. Look at your shirt. Look at your shirt. You're invisible.
Where's your clothes?
Ooh. It's just a floating head. The one with the shinning, and then the other one is the one that's kind of like a Freddy parody. I love that one too. So that's gonna be it for me, guys. Sorry, kind of got interrupted here, but thank you guys so much for chiming in on this first episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Ah, shit, I got one more. Okay, who is the new lead vocalist of Alice in Chains? I haven't heard the 3 latest albums yet. William Duvall is the newest vocalist.
Daddy, Mommy,
Black Gives Way to
Daddy,
Blue.
Black.
Yep, Black Gives Way to Blue is probably the best of the 3 that they've done so far.
Get out.
So I would start with that one.
Mom, can you get
But
out?
thank you guys so much for joining me
Get
for this
out.
first episode of Evil Live. Thank you guys for the super chats and for all the awesome questions and hanging out for almost 2 hours. Keep an eye out for this. I'm not going to guarantee it's going to be weekly.
Daddy?
I don't know, baby. It's disappeared, huh?
Yeah.
I'm not going to guarantee it's going to be weekly. It just
Daddy, can you
depends
put
on
it
what
back?
I have to talk about. But thank you guys for watching. And
It's orange.
I will see you next time. Yeah.
Daddy.
Yep, I see that. Wave bye. Wave bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. My blanket.